Okay, so let's try number 62 in 9.1. Panic sets in almost immediately, right?
Because there's no match.
Yeah, because there's no obvious matches, right? So the key on these, when you're panicking, is to start writing something, right? Preferably something correct. So what do you see that you can factor out at the first step? See anything? Z?
Factor out the a squared.
You guys want to factor that first? Yeah, nut bars. What's the easy thing to factor? Yeah, pull a 5 on the bottom just to start writing things. If you see this first, it doesn't matter at all which order you do these things in. Okay? So don't feel like you're obliged to do my order. I just like to look for a number first to write something down. So let's see. On the bottom, we can get a 5 out. What are you left with after you've got a 5 out? Perfect. Okay, so we got a minus 2b plus z on the bottom. Now, what am I hoping for? I really should be hoping something hard right now. Yeah, the top has one of those in it, right? You guys see that? I'm really, really hoping that. Do I see that as being likely right now?
I can.
Some of you do and some of you don't. That's totally fine. When you're looking at the top, what do you see that's going to help?
There's a perfect square trinomial.
Okay, so you might spot the perfect square trinomial. You see it?
Yeah.
This thing? You didn't spot this perfect square trinomial. What else do you see that's going to be a clue that there is a perfect square trinomial?
2 is a factor of 4.
Okay, good. 2 is a factor of 4. Easier. More psychological, less mathematical. There's a minus z squared, right? That clues me that I should be looking for difference of squares, right? You guys see that? So if I could think about that first thing as being something squared, then I'd be in great shape. Alternatively, you can run the AC factoring method on this first thing. You guys see that? So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to spot the perfect square trinomial? Do you want to run the AC factoring method? Show of hands for AC. Show of hands for just spot it. All right, looks like we're running AC factoring. Cool. All right, so I'm just going to kind of off in the margin, right? Run AC on a squared minus 4ab plus 4b squared. Okay? So how do I run the AC factoring method? What?
I don't know what that is.
Oh. Okay, let's learn it. No big deal. We got it. So one of you who's seen this thing before, what do you do with the AC factoring method first?
You draw an X first.
You're going to have to teach me how to do that.
That's what the AC method is. You draw an X and then you plug in things. Is there another way to do the AC method?
I don't know. The one I taught you last semester?
You gotta figure out what multiply
Not
except
just-
for and add.
I didn't teach you the X one. I don't know it.
Oh.
It's
No, I
okay.
learned it in
It's
high
actually
school.
pretty
That's
easy.
why.
All you have to do
After a 5-minute break today, you can teach it to us.
Okay.
So
Anyways, you
What's the
find
thing I'm
out
looking
what
for?
adds to be negative 4ab and multiplies to be 4b squared.
yeah, okay. So I'm looking for adds to this middle term, right? I'm looking for two numbers that add to negative 4 and multiply to 4 by 4.
Because it's the first one.
Thinking A and C, right? So there's kind of an implicit 1 here. So I took 1 times 4 and I got this 4. That's the AC part of the AC factoring method. Okay, so what two things multiply to 4 and add to negative 4? Sounds like negative 2 and negative 2. So then I rewrite this thing as a squared minus 2ab minus 2ab plus 4b squared. You see that? So I've got my pair of numbers, right? And then I take these and think about this as negative 4 is negative 2 minus negative 2. Sorry, minus 2. Minus negative 2. You see that? I'm really just, once I found my two numbers that add to negative 4, I'm going to replace negative 4 with those two numbers added together. Cool? All right, then what?
Factor by grouping.
Yeah, then the AC method says factor by grouping. So out of these first two terms and out of these other two terms, what can I get? So how about the first two? What's common in there? There's an A. Okay, so if I factor an A out, what am I left with?
A minus 2b.
A minus 2B.
Why wouldn't you just put those two together?
Why wouldn't I combine these two together?
Yeah.
Because it kicks me back a step.
Oh,
And I already don't know how to factor this. But on this one, if I split in this way, and really this is the AC method, is to think about that middle term in a different way and then factor by grouping. Once I've thought about that middle term in a different way and factored by grouping, I'll be able to get this thing totally factored. How about this guy? What can you get out of that?
2b.
Negative 2.
Yeah, a negative 2b. And what are you left with after you've got minus 2b out of it? A minus 2b. Right? And then what? Yeah, and then you combine like terms. You guys see that? Or you factor this thing out of both pieces. Either way, it amounts to the same thing, right? So you're going to end up with a minus 2b from these two guys. And that's going to be how many of these A minus 2b's you have. You guys see that? That's a little bit bizarre, right? Because everything's square here. Think about it this way. You guys see this? Factor the green stuff out, and then you're left with this other thing, A minus 2b, times the green stuff. Or you could think to yourself, your buddy brought A green things to the party, and then somebody came by and took minus 2b of them, right? Or took 2b of them. So how many green things do you have left? Well, you have A minus 2b green things. That's cool. Okay, so in the end, we got A minus 2b squared, right? So going back to our problem, we can rewrite this top bit as A minus 2b squared minus z squared. Then what?
The top part is the difference in squares.
You see that? The top is difference of squares. So if the top's difference of squares, that means I can factor that top bit into something with a plus and something with a minus, right? And then on the bottom I've got my A5 times A minus 2b plus c. What are the plus and the minus on the top? Yeah, the thing that makes the difference of squares, right? So what is it in this case?
A minus 2b, and then c you plug in for past the signs.
Cool. You guys see that?
Yeah.
It's the the first thing that's squared minus the second thing that's squared times the first thing that's squared plus the second thing that's squared. You guys see this?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. So when I'm doing difference of squares, I'm remembering, all right, if I've got something squared minus something else squared, right? I can factor this into the first thing minus the second thing times the first thing plus the second thing. So over here, what I've got is I've got a minus 2b is in the box and z is in the triangle. You guys see that?
And then something cancels out.
And then I would hope that something cancels, right? Like the thing with the a, the b, and the z in it, right? Okay, so wait. They have to be exactly the same, right? Are they exactly the same? Yeah, let's see. So this one, right? And this one.
Those aren't the same.
No.
No. The other one.
Oh, it's the other one. Okay, so I've got these two, right? What's the difference between these two things? Are they the same?
Yes.
They're exactly the same?
It's just that
No,
A
because
minus 2B
there's
has
parentheses
parentheses
in
around
places.
it.
Yeah, there's parentheses in this one. Do they matter? Why not?
Oh, because you were just doing that to keep track of like.
Yeah, I was just doing that to keep track. They don't actually make any difference in what quantity this represents, right? You guys see that?
Yes.
So they don't have to actually be exactly the same. They have to be mathematically the same, right?
So if we were to do that and like not keep the extra parentheses, would that be okay? Just
Yeah,
saying-
sure.
Okay. Just kind of
I was keeping the extra parentheses so I could point at this and say, this is the thing in the square and this is the thing in the triangle.
okay.
You guys all see that? It's probably a good idea for you guys to keep the parentheses, but it's also a good idea for you to know that you can drop them. You guys cool with that? So in the end here, what do I get?
A minus 2b minus 7 over 5 minus z.
Minus z over 5.
It's 7.
Oh, well, it looks like 7.
It does look like a 7.
I got it.
All right, so I got to here, right? I'm done. What's the asterisk that I would have to have?
Does not include.
As long as 5.
Yeah, there's an asterisk right here between this equal sign, and the asterisk should read something like, except when a minus 2b plus z is 0. You guys see that? That's super awkward, right? But really, that's just a restriction on the domain of this function. You guys cool with that? This is a kind of a nasty little multivariate function, but whatever.
So the answer is both of those, the squared and the except one?
It depends on the directions. So if they just said simplify, then yeah, you need this and this. On this one, they actually said simplify, assume that all variables have been restricted to prevent division by 0. So on this one, because they added that extra assumption, I don't need this, because this was in their directions. Okay, cool with that?